Let's get one thing straight. The first thing he's probably going to do is fire a bunch of motherfuckers. Now, when I say a bunch of people, I mean a shit ton. Because you got to keep in mind, people like Donald Trump, they don't tolerate failures, right? He holds people accountable. And for the last 4 years, all we've had is a bunch of failures, to include the pullout in Afghanistan. Right, so immediately after the election results were in, this article's from November 6th. So literally the next day at 1:45 p.m., Hamas calls for immediate end to war after Trump election wins. Guys, they know that Donald Trump is a no-nonsense type of guy. They know once he steps to the scene, he's pro-Israel, and he wants his legacy and his presidency to mean something, right? So first thing he's going to do, guys, is if Israel is not already fucking in a position where they are going to win, he's going to do whatever he can to include possibly getting the United States involved as far as boots on the ground to put this conflict to sleep. Now, you got to keep in mind, during the 4 years that President Trump was in power, we didn't have any of this nonsense. We didn't have any of this conflict. Now that he's back in the seat, everyone knows what the deal is. Everybody knows what time it is. So Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah, like they're all starting to shake in their boots because they know Donald Trump means business, right? And he's going to get everybody to fall in place, to fall in line. Another one of our adversaries on the international stage is China. Now, China knows how President Trump is. They've been dealing with him not only as a businessman, but also as the 45th president. And this article's from 7 hours ago. She says he will work with Trump in last meeting with Biden. All right. He goes on to say in a robust readout of the meeting released afterward. The article goes on to say President Xi had underscored that a new Cold War should not be fought and cannot be won. Containing China is unwise, unacceptable, and bound to fail. So he is already positioning himself to not go against the grain when it comes to dealing with President Trump. Just like it was when he was the 45th president. Everyone fell in line. Here's what I want you guys to understand, right? As a leader, you have to be feared. The bullies on the international stage needs to know that there's a bigger bad out there. They need to know there's somebody that's crazy, if not crazier than they are. And by bullies, I'm talking about China, I'm talking about Russia, and I'm talking about Iran. The last 4 years, we haven't been that boogeyman. We haven't been that dude. That's just the reality of it. Now that we have that again in the 47th president-elect, everyone is starting to see the writing on the wall and they're positioning themselves. All right, so not only is the conflict between Hezbollah, Houthis, and Hamas is about to come to an end, now the current conflict, the biggest one with Russia and Ukraine, I would give this a couple of weeks after President Donald Trump is in office. I would give it a couple of weeks before he picks up the phone and he's like, hey, Vlad, kill it right now. Pull all your dudes out. All right. This article is from November 11th. Trump told Putin not to escalate the war in Ukraine in their first post-election call, a report says. Guys, he's already going to work and he's not even in office yet. All right. Hey, Vladimir, put an end to that shit or else. This is who we need in office, guys, to put everything back in order. So those were the world leaders, right? So what is our military going to look like under President Donald Trump, right? Now, I know there's a couple of things that he's trying to do, or he said he was going to do as soon as he gets into office. Let's take a look at what those things are. November 6th, Trump's Pentagon overhaul. 8 policy changes he's expected to make. Now, let's get one thing straight. The first thing he's probably going to do is fire a bunch of motherfuckers. Now, when I say a bunch of people, I mean a shit ton. Because you got to keep in mind, people like Donald Trump, they don't tolerate failures, right? He holds people accountable. And for the last 4 years, all we've had is a bunch of failures, to include the pullout in Afghanistan, to include soldiers being freaking purposeless, to include military morale being at all-time low, to include militaries not being able to recruit. someone has to be held accountable for all those failures. So another one that I think is very interesting and that I personally have some, interest to see if this is going to happen or not is, guys, approximately 3 weeks ago, while the president-elect was down here campaigning around the Fort Bragg area, he promised that he was going to rename all the Confederate base names that got changed last year. All right. So, for example, Fort Bragg is now Fort Liberty. Fort Benning is now Fort Moore. Fort Hood is now Fort Cavaso, right? When he was down here, he mentioned that he was going to undo that. He was going to rename or revert all the bases back to their original name. Now, me personally, I don't really care, right? I like the original names because that's where my military career was spent serving. And I'm not a big fan of rewriting history. You can't just erase history like that, right? Because now people are going to come up and not know, hey, this used to be Fort Bragg because now it's, Fort Liberty or whatever, right? History is what history is, right? You're bound to repeat it if you don't know it and if you're not aware of it. So personally, I hope he goes back and revert the name back to the original Fort Bragg, Fort Benning, and so on and so forth, right? The only thing that sucks about that, guys, it is going to cost a shit ton of money. So another one that I'm very excited about is the transgender troops and diversity effort. Dudes, once Donald Trump is elected in office, he recently picked his Secretary of Defense, which is an Army major. Bro, this one I support, right? Transgender troops and the DEI effort that took place during the Joe Biden administration, that shit has no place in the military, all right? We look like a fucking clown show. So once he's in office, guys, I'm hoping he gets rid of all these policies that's made our military the laughing stock of the world as of late, right? Transgenders can't serve in uniform, right? That shit should not be in the fucking military, right? DEI, you shouldn't get a position just because of the color of your skin. It should be MEI, right? Merit based. You perform, you get the job. You don't get the job because you're black. No shit's given, right? So I'm looking forward to these policies being overhauled, right? Because I think doing so will, put our military where it needs to be again. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, guys, I've had a chance to serve under Democratic presidents and also Republican presidents. And by far, guys, we make the most money under Republican presidents. That is what it is, right? We get the most raises under Republican presidents, all right? And then the morale is going to go up when soldiers are receiving more pay. That's just how it is, all right? And then the rules of engagement under Democratic presidents versus Republican presidents are night and day. During the height of the Afghanistan war, guys, I served under Obama, and then I served under Bush, and then I served under Trump. Completely different rules of engagement, right? Republicans fight to win wars. Democrats, I don't know what they're fighting for, right? So I'm telling you, the next 4 years should not only be good for our military, but it will also be good for our economy, all right? Guys, I just wanted to jump on here and speak to you guys about what to expect for the next 4 years. If I was 18 years old right now and was thinking about joining the military, I would go down there, speak with my recruiter right now and let him know, sign me up. I want to ship out to basic training after January 6th because right about now is going to be the best time to be in the military, hands down. Hope this segment was helpful. I just wanted to jump on here, share some articles with you guys, let you guys know what's going on. Appreciate you guys. Let me know in the comment section what you guys are looking for as far as the next 4 years. All right, which one you're looking to see happen. Is it Hamas, Ukraine, Russia? Like, what are you looking forward to, guys? I appreciate you guys. And until next time, take care of yourselves.